I'm Kyle Glowa. I'm the owner of A World of Scents Candle Co. I make all of my soy wax candles out of my home here in Rochester, Minnesota. I have all of my candles available on my website, www.worldofscentscandle.com. This is my candle making setup. I have a wax melter here that I created. I've got a pouring pitcher and then a thermometer in both the wax melter and also the pouring pitcher here so that I can monitor the temperature of both waxes. Temperature is super important while you're making candles. There's certain points that you want to get to and there's certain temperatures that you want to avoid, both when heating up your wax and also when pouring it. And then I also have my scale underneath here. I end up filling this off of the spigot here. It just pours the wax into the pitcher and I can watch how many ounces I actually have. So I have already prepared my jars here, placed the wicks in there, and I've used these clothespins to just hold them in the center of the jar. Essentially what we're going to do is we're going to pour the wax out of this. We're going to add the fragrance oil into this pitcher. I already have candle dye within here. There's multiple different dyes, but I use diamond chips. So I've already got that in here. So essentially we're just going to pour the wax and then add the fragrance, stir it, mix it in, and then pour it into the glass jars here. I'm going to add my fragrance oil.
What fragrance are you making today?
So this is my lavender candles. So I usually make them a purple color, and it's a blend of lavender with a little bit of citrus in there to kind of brighten the fragrance a little bit.
Oh, I can smell it now. That's very refreshing smell.
Yeah, definitely a lively but relaxing. So now that I've added the fragrance oil, I'm going to use my thermometer here to mix in the fragrance oil. So we want to mix it in pretty well, mix it for a few minutes so that it combines with the wax and becomes incorporated into the wax. Alright, so we're at 150 degrees on this. I'm going to want this to get down to about 125 to 135 degrees, somewhere in that range before I pour it into my jars here. Alright, so it looks like our temperature is finally down into that pouring range here, so I'm going to give it another stir just to make sure that that fragrance oil is spread throughout the wax well. Then I'm going to grab some paper towels here. Paper towels are definitely a necessity when making candles to keep everything nice and tidy. That way you don't get wax and fragrance all over the place. So I'm going to take my thermometer out now because I know that it's at the proper temperature. I'm going to give it a nice cleaning here. And then the nice thing about these pouring pitchers is that I can actually pour them one-handed. So I'm going to take my paper towel and hold it on the front edge of this vessel. And then I'm just going to slowly pour that wax in there. This dye is just a beautiful purple color. It's like a royal purple while it's pouring out of the pitcher here. So when you're pouring your candles, you want to make sure that you're not pouring too hard or too soft. You want to be kind of right in the middle. You want to commit to it without causing it to splash, but also if you go too slow, it'll run down the front of the pitcher and kind of make a mess on your table or floor or whatever you're pouring on. Alright, so I filled all 3 candles here. These jars have a little lip on the outside of it around each one. And my goal every time that I fill these is to fill it up to the top of that little ring on the jars. And then now that we've poured it, I still have a little bit of wax left in the pouring pitcher here. I'm I'm just gonna take my paper towel and try to wipe out as much of that as I can. If you let it solidify and cool down, it's a lot more difficult to get out later on. So you definitely want to do it while your wax is still warm. And the paper towel will just essentially absorb that. Alright, so we got that all cleaned out. We're pretty well done with the process here. I'm just going to go back in one more time and try to make sure that these wicks are actually centered in the jar. You want them centered in the middle in both directions. So sometimes it's easier to look through the side of the jar to see if it's centered. Sometimes it's easier to look from above to make sure that the wick is placed in the center. There we are. We're just going to let them sit and cool for anywhere between about 30 minutes to 60 minutes. Once they're solidified too, we don't want to burn them right away. Candles actually have a cure time. I think 2 days and you'll get a strong enough throw, but definitely you want to be patient for a day or two before you light your candles. Alright, so it's been about 45 minutes now, and these are totally cool to the touch, so they should be solid all the way through. We're now good to take these clothespins off of the wicks here. It looks like everything cooled properly. We've got nice smooth tops on there. All we have to do is trim the wick. We normally want to trim it down to about 1/4 of an inch left, so they don't have to cure with the lids off, so feel free to put them on if you don't want them throwing scent at all. But after that, we're good to go.